Hey everyone, welcome back to another video. So in this one, I'm going to go over my range belt setup and just kind of show you my thoughts behind how I've gone and put it together, and hopefully you can find this useful or at least just entertaining to see how some other dude who goes shooting sets up his belt. So the purpose of a range belt is just to be able to carry what you need based on what you're going to do. So typically when you're carrying things, they fall into three different categories. First, you have your gun, ammo for the gun, and then whatever else you might need based on what you're going to do. So if you're in law enforcement, you'll probably have a few more things on there versus some like normal person who just shoots for fun. Your requirements will be different. And so that's kind of the third category there. As I've mentioned, I really just go shooting on weekends, and so my range belt is set up accordingly. It's honestly just the holster for my pistol and then the ammo for my pistol, plus another couple of small things to help me with my training. For me, it's really just everything I need and nothing more, and so I don't really have anything else weighing me down. It just gives me everything that I want to use to make my time as efficient as possible, and I don't kind of add any extras to it. Since I primarily just shoot my pistol, but of course I do shoot rifle as well, I have 3 pistol magazines on here, and again, some other things which I'll go into soon. The belt itself is a T-Rex Arms Orion Belt. It's actually a 2-piece clip-on, clip-off kind of style belt, so you can wear whatever you want around your pants, and then you just clip this right over it. There are other designs which are also 2 pieces where you have the main belt you wear just like any kind of normal like non-shooting belt through your belt loops, and then on top of that you put the second belt which attaches through Velcro, and that's what actually carries all of your different equipment with you. I chose the former just because I found it's easier and more convenient to have something I can get in and get out of pretty quickly, and it's just a neater setup for me. But I don't think you can really lose with either of those. Even though there are many different belts out there, I specifically went with this one because at the time it was the best one I could find at a price point I was comfortable paying. And there were also a lot of good reviews out there that actually demoed the product up close, which was really helpful. So I didn't have to take any gamble with buying it and maybe taking the risk of having to return it if I didn't like it. I found that doing that research up front was very beneficial and made me successful the first time. So hopefully this info can help you as well. So I'll go over each of the attachments I have on this belt. Naturally, because I don't really have that many to begin with, it'll be a bit of a shorter video, but I also do want to devote some time at the end to talking about some tips that I have if you are looking to buy your own belt, and just some thought processes that maybe you could mimic or take inspiration from so you can make well-informed decisions as well. So as I just mentioned, one of the primary functions of a belt is to be able to carry the equipment you need for whatever you're going to do. And so with that, I have a holster to carry my pistol, and this one in particular is the Safariland 6360, which I use to carry my Glock 17 with a Streamlight TLR1. I mentioned these details because when you shop for holsters, they have to be customized to your specific pistol in order to make it fit properly. This one in particular is a level 3 holster. What this means is that there are 3 levels of retention. So you start normally with level 1, which is literally just the holster itself is the first level of retention. Level 2 might have 2, so then you have the holster and then maybe like a switch or something to take the gun out. Then level 3 just builds on that, so you have the holster and 2 kind of levers, switches, buttons, whatever you want to call it, that you have to deactivate to hold the gun or to get the gun out of the holster. Moving along, I also have a shot timer on here. I've talked about shot timers a few times in some previous videos, which I can link. And a shot timer is really just a buzzer that measures your times in between shots. It's a good tool for practice, and instead of only going for accuracy when you shoot, you can incorporate time as well. So if you're shooting really accurately over 100 seconds, that won't be as good if you're shooting really accurately over 2 seconds or something, to give a very simple example. So would recommend. Moving along, I also have a dump pouch on here. This one also came from T-Rex Arms. Easiest to just buy everything all from one website. And this is really just used for administrative purposes. So you can store empty magazines or like a pen or a staple gun, even your phone or wallet. So it's just easier sticking things in these pouches, which you can keep on your person, as opposed to maybe leaving them on the ground where you might misplace or lose them. And then finally, we have our magazine holders. Again, the purpose of the belt is to hold what you need, and you need ammo to feed your gun. So here I have what are 3 pistol magazines and 1 rifle magazine. I believe these are called Esstac Kywi, if I'm pronouncing that correctly, but they are very popular, and if you do any research, you will find these pretty quickly. They're basically just Kydex, so it's a certain type of plastic, and it just holds your magazines in with friction, and I've always found them to work well. And even if I've had this for 2 or 3 years, these have never lost any kind of friction or retention. So that's kind of it for my belt. As I mentioned, kind of short and sweet on the features there. I think one thing I would add to my belt is some kind of first aid kit just in case. I always drive to the range, so I have a first aid kit in my car, but I think it would be good to have this kind of thing on your person as well, just because of the nature of shooting. Now, as I mentioned before, I do want to devote a few minutes at the end to talking about some tips for how to shop for a range belt, because I think this can be really helpful to help guide how you actually go about purchasing or setting up your own range belt. The first and most important thing that kind of guides all the rest is just figure out what you want to actually use this for. Again, I've mentioned before that I mostly just shoot for hobbies and local matches. It's really all I do. And so for me, that really helps me understand what I need and what I don't need to put on my range belt. So when you understand what you're really going to use this for and be real with yourself what you're actually going to use, that will really help you guide your buying decisions as well, and also what you set up your range belt for. This segues nicely into my second tip is don't add extra stuff if you really don't need it. Be real with yourself. So you will find that if you add more things to your range belt, quickly that weight starts to add up. And so if something looks really cool and you want it, I mean, whatever makes you happy, go for it. But just keep in mind that the more you add, quickly weight does add up. And it's just a lot of stuff you have to slog around with you as you're walking around at the range. And the last piece of advice I'll throw out there, which can really apply to anything, shooting or otherwise, is just look at reviews before you buy and just take some time to do some research. You'll probably be able to return these products based on where you purchase from, but if you don't do a little bit of research up front, you could kind of be like rolling the dice and taking a gamble with your purchase, and it's just an extra added headache if you need to ship it back. Keep in mind too that not only are you purchasing the belt itself, but then you need to buy all the different attachments that go with it, so the money does add up fairly quickly. So it's best to just try to get this thing right the very first time as well. Obviously, because you're here, you know that YouTube is a very helpful channel to be able to find reviews on what you need, and so it's a really good visual way to understand what you're getting yourself into. And so I would definitely recommend doing a lot of YouTube reviews and then also blog posts or reviews on Google or whatever, however you find those. But do your research ahead of time. Definitely very useful, and it can cut down on any headaches, especially with a piece of equipment that you will likely use a lot and is very important. So with all said and done, this does it for my range belt setup video. I hope you enjoyed it and found it useful, and hopefully this information can benefit you if you are purchasing your own belts or looking to kind of switch up your setup a bit. Hope you enjoyed it, and I will catch you in the next one.